Hi, I'm Reggie Brooks, Executive Director of the Holtz Heroes Foundation, and welcome to the Zorich Podcast as we celebrate Black History Month and some of the legendary players from the Lou Holtz era.
Welcome, everyone, to a special edition of the Zorich Podcast. I've been able to team up with Holtz Heroes Foundation to celebrate Black History Month. We'll be interviewing some amazing student athletes who became instant legends during the Lou Holtz era when they were at Notre Dame. One of those amazing student athletes was Todd Lyght, a fellow captain, first-round draft pick, and Super Bowl champion. And
yes, sir.
As of yesterday, your team won their second one?
Yeah, it was really, really exciting. Great day for LA, obviously, great day for the Rams organization. And obviously, when you get to that second Super Bowl, the organization goes into an elite status. And so I'm very proud to be a part of that group.
That is absolutely amazing. Now, were you were part of the team when they were in St. Louis, right? So what was that like?
It was really interesting. I was drafted here in 91 in LA, played 5 years, moved to St. Louis in 95, played there for 5 years. Really, really great experience. I love St. Louis. I think that amazing sports town. They really, really embraced the team. They embraced us, cheered for us through thick and thin. And there were some lean years there, but they always stayed with us. And, obviously, through those lean years, we were able to accumulate a lot of draft picks and a lot of really, really good players. And then, when we got Marshall Faulk, who was like the crown jewel of free agency, that put us over the top and we were able to become world champions.
So just since we're on the literally less than 24 hours from the game, just kind of give us a couple seconds on what that experience was like actually when you saw the clock kind of go down and you realize that you'll be a Super Bowl champion.
Yeah, no, we had that 3-point lead. Cincinnati got the ball back. They hit that big play out on the perimeter against Jalen Ramsey and, got it up to midfield. And I thought from there, the way they were throwing the ball, they had a really, really good chance to put it in the field goal range and send that thing into overtime. But, obviously for us, team MVP, Aaron Donald came through in a big way on that fourth down and, got Joe Burrow on the ground, hurried him, and got the ball out, and we were able to come out victorious. And so really, really happy for the organization. I think that for us as former players, it was a really, really proud moment to see those guys excel because, Aaron Donald's been a superstar in this league for a long time. Same with Matthew Stafford.
Sure.
Cooper Kupp had an amazing year. It's really easy to root for a guy like OBJ, Von Miller, and all the rest of the guys, Eric Weddle. And, just really, really proud of the organization and all those men and the achievement that they accomplished.
That is just absolutely amazing. I know how it was when we won the national championship, but I can't imagine having a chance to have another ring that's a little bit bigger than the national championship ring.
The national championship was an amazing accomplishment, but I will admit winning the Super Bowl is just a little bit harder.
A little bit, right?
Just a little bit.
Oh, I love it. That is awesome, man. Well, part of that experience and everything else kind of happened when you were at Notre Dame, and it's an amazing story. You come in at one position. Leave it as a first rounder in another position. But when I'll talk to you about, because we are celebrating Black History Month,
yes.
What was it like for you as a Black student athlete at Notre Dame?
For me, it was great. I felt really accepted with open arms. I was very fortunate to go to private Catholic school my whole life. And so the transition into a Catholic university was very easy for me and very seamless because it's what I had been doing my whole life. And it was interesting because I had never understood why my mom sent me to private Catholic schools when I was a kid. But the moment I got on the campus at University of Notre Dame, the picture became super clear.
Wow.
And I thanked her for that. And, very grateful for that opportunity provided by Coach Holtz and the program. And, that experience was phenomenal. The relationships that we built over those years, the bonds that we still have to this day are amazing. I love you guys. My former teammates, will always be my brothers. They always talk about the ND brotherhood, and that's a real thing.
Well, I think is really special, and because we didn't have athletic dorms, kind of, for me, that feeling really happened during summer school. And, you think about back in those days when we had the coupons and
Right.
it was so great because like it would be like me, then like Andre Jones, then like somebody else, and like Tim Ryan, and somebody. I mean, so like they were in single rooms, but we're like right next to each other. And I remember like no one ever closed their door. I mean, it was just this great camaraderie and this great experience.
It really, really was. Those summer schools were special. And, I was very fortunate. I was able to go to a couple of them, not only to help my GPA, but just to keep me focused during those summer months,
right,
preparing for the upcoming season. And I think that was really, really instrumental to our development, both on and off the field. And I think academically, it was nice for us as student athletes to have that break from football and just to kind of be normal students. I mean, obviously we had to work out in the morning, but the workload was nothing like it is during the school year. And so that was really nice. And I really enjoyed that time, especially hanging out with guys like you, Tim Grunhardt. I remember going back to Chicago, spending time with his family, Jeff Pearson, Michael Stonebreaker, Anthony Johnson, all the older guys kind of like taking us under their wing and really showing us, what it was to be a Notre Dame man and how to conduct ourselves and go about our business the right way.
And that's the one thing. And I totally understand what the university is trying to do and have us integrate during the year and live in the dorms and not have athletic dorms. I totally understand that.
Yes.
But there's something special. And so I kind of envy like the Alabamas and Michigans and the places where they have, the suites and everything else where, you have a chance to like be with your brothers 24 hours a day.
Yeah, no question. You know what I mean? But, that's what makes Notre Dame unique. I think that, for us as student athletes to kind of be forced into the regular student population and forced to integrate with the regular students, I think that really broadens your horizons in terms of your outlook and your perception of people that you don't know, people that you aren't necessarily familiar with.
Sure.
And it also just broadens your scope in terms of how you communicate with people that may be on a different page than you in terms of politics, socioeconomics, or whatever the topic may be.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's so interesting because I've been talking to some other guys and they've talked about experiences where they've gone home with folks in their dorm that, they're not even football players. They've had a chance. Tony Rice has some great stories about kind of going back home over the summers or little breaks with guys in his dorm.
Yeah, absolutely. And, it was interesting too, because I ended up going to a school to Notre Dame with a good friend of mine, Tim O'Shaughnessy.
Okay.
We went to junior high school together in Alexandria, Virginia at the St. Mary's. And I remember him always having this Notre Dame folder. And like in 7th and 8th grade, he's always like, I'm going to Notre Dame. I'm going to Notre Dame. And I didn't really know anything about Notre Dame at the time. I'm like, this kid's really focused, man. He really knows what he wants. I'm like trying to figure out where high school I'm going to go to. He already knows what school he's going to go to in college. And I thought that was pretty impressive. But, it was interesting, they had the freshmen, get-togethers and the parties before the school year started. And sure enough, I walk in there. There he is, Tim O'Shaughnessy standing right there. And I was like, man, you made it. He was like, what are you doing here? I was like, I made it too.
That is great, man. That is absolutely true. And that's the special part of having the chance to really become friends, lifelong buddies. And like I said before, I know guys were talking about how to this day, they're in each other's weddings. And these are kind of the non-football relationships that you have.
Right, no doubt. And that's what makes Notre Dame special. And I think that, the opportunity to go out and, to be a part of the student body and to get involved in the different activities outside of football, really makes that experience of going to the University of Notre Dame really, really special. And, for me, obviously, being recruited, I had an opportunity to go to a couple of different schools. I was looking at Michigan. I was looking at Michigan State. I was looking at Arizona State. My brother was a graduate. He's Sun Devil, and I was kind of had an affinity for Arizona State because my brother went there.
Sure.
But, I would never change anything about, the way that played out. Because, being around Coach Holtz, all those really, really outstanding coaches, that had a really, really big impact on me, not only as a player, but as a man. And, obviously the lifelong relationships that we have. And I mean, Chris, I love you to death, and, you're always going to be my brother. And, we got the honor to be captains together.
Sure.
And, we had a great run. I think that, we were at Notre Dame, and I think our record was 42-7, if I'm not correct,
Yes.
if I'm not mistaken.
That's
42-7. I know, it's crazy. And to think about this, we lost 4 games our freshman year, and we were 42-7. And I mean, that's an unbelievable run. One of the greatest runs in the history of University of Notre Dame. And to think, to this day, they still haven't won a championship since we won. And when I was a player, I would have thought they would have at least won 3 or 4.
Come on. Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, here's the crazy thing, Todd. Out of those games, out of the games that we won, we went into I think it was, what'd you say, 40? How many did they?
I think we were 42-7, if I'm not mistaken.
So out of those 42 games, we went into those games ranked number 1. I want to say 30-something times. I mean,
wow.
So it wasn't just we were we were 10th or whatever, unranked. I mean, we were number 1 for more than half those games.
Yeah. I mean, that says a lot about the program. That says about the leadership of Coach Holtz, his staff, and our preparation, obviously because, we were lucky, but we were really good, right? Because our preparation met opportunity, and the luck kind of favored us. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. It's well known that practices were definitely harder than the games.
Absolutely. There's no question.
As you made that transition from Notre Dame onto the NFL, I mean, one of the kind of curious things I have is when, having a chance to kind of be drafted in the first round. I mean, that's just an amazing experience. Can you kind of share that with us? Because that really doesn't happen to very many people.
No, it doesn't. And it's really interesting, too, because in 1991, Paul Tagliabue was the commissioner at the time. There was only 28 teams in the NFL.
Right.
And at the draft in New York, I was the only student athlete there in New York at the draft. And, now it's they have 20 guys, 30 guys, and, they have this whole big production. But I would happen to be the only one there. And I remember thinking, I hope I go quick, man, because these cameras are on me. You know what I mean? But I felt pretty good, though, because going into it, I remember the San Diego Chargers, the general manager called my agent the night before and was like, well, if he's there at 7, we're going to take him. So I was able to sleep knowing worst case scenario, I was going to go 7. But, thank God, I slid to 5 and, came out of Los Angeles Ram. And, I still live in Los Angeles now, and I love California, and life's great out here on the West Coast, man. I was sitting on my front porch before the podcast started, and I was sipping on some lemonade, and it was 75 degrees.
Oh my God!
I know. I was looking at the ocean, and the sun was setting. We're about to have a nice, beautiful purple sunset, and so it's my team won the Super Bowl last night, so life is pretty good on the West Coast.
That's a little different than Flint, Michigan, huh?
A little bit different than Flint, no doubt. And shout out to Flint, Michigan, and all my guys out there. And I'll get a chance to go out there in the spring because I don't fool with Flint in the winter. I got to wait for spring to break.
That is awesome, man. That is awesome. So, I mean, you're now with the NFL team. I mean, how would you say your experience? You alluded to it a little bit before, but how would you say your experience at Notre Dame prepared you for the NFL?
I think that the fact that we played in so many big games, and we played against so many outstanding coaches and outstanding opponents. And, I personally got a chance to really line up against some of the best wide receivers in the nation. It really prepared me because when I got to the league, I felt like because I had an opportunity to guard Tim Brown, because I had an opportunity to guard Michael Irvin and all these other great talents that were now in the NFL, that I had a chance to really, really be successful. And, with that confidence from playing at the University of Notre Dame, obviously that translated to success in college, but how would that translate into the pros? I think just for me, the mindset of just knowing I could get the job done, as long as I took care of my assignment, I did what I was supposed to do. I played with my technique. I played fast. I played confident. I would have the ability. And, I did have some early success. Personally, team success was a little bit different now because there were some lean years my first couple of years at the Rams. I mean, let me tell you something, boy. We lost a lot of games. And I did some soul searching then because, it's interesting. I was telling my dad this the other day. I had never been on a losing team until I got to the pros.
Wow. I mean, just think about that. Think about that, man. I mean,
how
that's
lucky
insane. That's insane.
That's really, really lucky. I was on always some of these really good teams and had some really, really good coaches. And so losing was an issue for me, and I had to work through that. I remember calling my dad after the games, and I'd be so upset. And he'd be like, "What's wrong?" And I'm like, "We lost. It was the fourth quarter. Guys weren't even mad." And I was like, half these guys couldn't play at Notre Dame. And I think that, looking back on it when I was younger, I didn't lose properly early on in my career. It took me a couple of years to learn to lose gracefully. But through that process, I became a better player. I became a better man. And I think that process of losing and learning to lose gracefully helped me become a champion.
Interesting. Yeah. I know my first year, I forgot who we played. I was in special teams. First game of the year, we lost. And go back in the locker room, kind of like we were talking about. I was upset, sitting there and pissed off. And somebody came up to me like, "What's up, dude?" I'm like, "Dude, we lost the game." They're like, "Man, you ain't even playing. What are you worried about?" I'm like, "Dude, we lost." I'm like, "Man, get dressed. We're going to this party." And,
right.
I was just like, what? Like you said, dude, we were at one point, our sophomore, junior year, we lost one game.
I know.
So,
but that was the difference between our mentality and a lot of guys that we played with because, their mentality was, there's going to be another game regardless of the outcome where, coming from Notre Dame, if we lost, we wouldn't be seen in public until the next W. You already know that. Hey, we back in the lab until we get the next W.
It's just so interesting because you expect, because you're playing the sports that everybody loves, you expect folks to have the same type of attitude. And so when a loss comes, like I said, like we were talking about, the guys are ready to go out and have a good time, and hey, let's just go hang out. I'm like, what?
I know, but that's the one thing about the unique experience at University of Notre Dame. Playing under Lou Holtz, the expectation, of giving it your all, right? Making sure that you do everything within your reason, within possibility of your preparation, and make sure that your team has success. And we all believed in that. We all lived by that. And because of that, we were able to have success. At the highest level. And obviously, to get to the NFL, you're thinking, in your mind, the NFL, it's this wonderful thing. It's this really, really great thing. And then you get there. And I remember looking around the locker room, I'm thinking, golly, half these guys couldn't even play at Notre Dame. And that really blew my mind. You know what I mean? I was like, what? I was like, this kid couldn't even play at Notre Dame. He's on the Rams? I was like, what?
Oh, my God.
But, that was just part of it. And, learning to work through that was an experience. And obviously, being a professional and having to show up and, giving your effort. And I remember there'd be times when we would line up against really, really good teams. Like I remember one year we played, I think it was 92. We were playing the Redskins. And, they were favored to win the Super Bowl. And it was like the second or third game. And I'm thinking, oh, God, this. And I was looking at these guys in the pregame. They had like Art Monk, Ricky Sanders. They had all these Darryl Green. They had like 7 Pro Bowlers. And I'm like looking at my team
God.
like, oh, my goodness, we don't have any Pro Bowlers. It's not going to work out good. We ended up losing by a big margin, that's for sure. But that's part of the process. And that's part of the learning curve for sure.
Wow. We are talking to Super Bowl champion and fellow captain Todd Lyght. We're doing a special edition of the Zorich Podcast. We're teaming up with the Holtz's Heroes to celebrate Black history and talk to some great Black players during the Holtz era at Notre Dame. So when we talk about that Holtz era, one of the things that is currently on our national championship ring and something that was pounded into our head, which I didn't understand as a freshman, a little 18-year-old coming from the south side of Chicago, but it's Holtz's mantra of trust, love, commitment.
Yes.
What does that mean to you?
For me, the first word trust is, trust in your teammates, trust in the coaching staff, trust the process. And coming from a private Catholic school coached by Bill Tucker, who is also my head high school football coach. He was a graduate of University of Notre Dame. He was class of 66.
Wow.
Yeah. And so, he used to take us to campus.
Oh.
And, just learning under him and learning to trust from him and to trust my high school teammates, that was really, really big. And so, when we transitioned into college, that philosophy was easy for me. The love part, that was a little bit tougher, coming from Flint, Michigan, had my guard up.
Mm-hmm.
You're not really going to be too inviting in terms of who you're going to let into your inner circle. So I was a little bit guarded that way. But obviously, with the hard work, with the commitment, with the level of toughness and grittiness that we had to play and the things that we had to do together, you know what I mean? And where it was almost like we were in survival mode, that wall, that barrier comes down. And, in the commitment part, that never wavered because I was always a winner. I always wanted to be a winner. And listen, if you said, okay, this is what it takes for us to win, this is what it takes for us to be a champion, I'm all in. You know what I mean? I'm all in. I don't even care. I remember there was a time when I was at the Rams, and so Coach Vermeil comes in. You're going to love this story. And this is before the collective bargaining agreement where practices could be held as long as they wanted, right? And so we were doing double days. We want to talk about commitment. We were doing double days. We were having 3-hour practices, full padded, back to back with like an hour break in between. So we were 6 hours. And it was like, out of those 6 hours, I think we were 3.5 hours live. Like getting
right.
Just 3.5 hours. Just go get it. You know what I mean? Like the coaches were going to find out who was going to be on the team and who really wanted it and who didn't want it. And going through that process, and I remember we had a team meeting. Guys were dying. Guys were dragging. They were so tired they couldn't even play with their kids when they went home. And we had this team meeting, and everyone's laying in the coach, and everyone's, expressing themselves about how miserable they are and how this isn't going to help them during the course of the season. And he was sitting there, and I remember him just really, really letting everybody speak and everybody communicate and everybody share their feelings and their thoughts. And then he stopped and he said, listen, guys, I'm here to win a Super Bowl. I'm looking for the guys that want to win a Super Bowl, and I'm looking for the guys that are ready to put in the work each and every day to get that done. And then he just got up and he walked out. And I remember everybody kind of turned around because I was one of the leaders of the team. And I knew exactly what he was doing because we weren't that great. We were a soft football club. You know what I mean? We were a club that could, barely get to 8 wins. And so I was okay with it. And I remember everybody turned around and looked at me and like, Todd, why didn't you say anything, man? Everybody had the open forum. You didn't even say anything. And I was thinking to myself, I was on coach's side. I agree with Coach. I agree with Coach. And I think that he's the leader for us. I think he's the guy, that's going to get us to the promised land. And, sure enough, he did. And, obviously for us, it's a really, really great thing, too, because he was just inducted into the NFL Football Hall of Fame this weekend, which was amazing. You know what I mean?
That's
and,
awesome.
Shout out to him because he's one of the few coaches that had led 2 organizations to the Super Bowl and was able to win one of them. He's an outstanding man, one of the best people that I know, and just a truly class act. You know what I mean? Shout out to Dick Vermeil.
That is absolutely terrific. That's great. And it's so interesting because, although people's perception and people's understanding of what trust, love, and commitment is, it really all boils down to what we learned back when we were 18, 19 years old, right?
Yes.
That's really the kind of the crazy thing. And of course, you knew what discipline was, you knew what love is, you have a family, all this stuff. But when you take that in commitment, when you talk about that within a team environment, then all of a sudden it becomes, oh, wow. Well, now these guys are my family. This is great. So it's so great to hear those stories because those who understand that become great leaders.
Absolutely. And you always want to be a leader within whatever team it is. And people lead a little bit differently, right? Some people, are verbal leaders. Some people lead by, the way that they conduct themselves and where they go about practice. Some people are able to do both. And I think that, for young student athletes, especially young players when they're transitioning from college to pros, it's really, really important to take a leadership role, whenever that role may be, however
Right.
big it may be or however significant it may be. But, in terms of trust, love, and commitment, obviously, those were instilled by my parents, reinforced by Coach Holtz.
Exactly.
And, the program that we had at the University of Notre Dame and the way that we went about our business and, was able to translate, that with some type of success into the professional ranks, which was really, really fun. And, for me, getting to live the dream of, playing professional football, growing up in Virginia, being a huge Redskin fan, being a huge Pittsburgh Steelers fan. One of the first Super Bowls I ever watched was Pittsburgh versus the LA Rams.
Wow.
Vince Ferragamo was the quarterback.
Wow.
And, you know what I mean? And I'm a kid watching Vince Ferragamo. And, last Friday, I'm at a Gold Jacket luncheon with Vince Ferragamo. I mean, how cool is that?
Gosh, that's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, it really, really is. And so very, very blessed, very, very pleased. Very, very happy to be back out in California. But, the opportunity to go to the University of Notre Dame and to learn what it is to, trust teammates, trust coaches, you know what I mean? To love a school unconditionally, to love my teammates unconditionally, right? And to understand the type of commitment level that it takes both academically and athletically to have success at the highest level.
Absolutely.
And, it's prepared me to have success, throughout my entire life. I'm transitioning now into real estate. I'm 53 years old. I'm about to go on my 5th career.
Wow.
You know what I mean? I'm a rookie all over again, and I love it.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, I love it.
Well, and again, it's that confidence you have, right? It's because you talk to the average 50-year-old guy, you say, hey, you know what? Here's a new career. He's going to shit his pants. He's going to be like, oh,
Right.
no. I'm good. I can go and do this. But it's that confidence that you built when you were such a young kid, again, year by year by year by year. And it's like, hey, This is just another challenge. I'm good.
That's it. You know what I mean? It's just another opportunity. It's just another opportunity to learn, right? And, to get through the learning curve and then to have success on the back end. And, I always wanted to be in real estate. I've been into it personally over 20 years on the personal side. But, now on the professional side, this will be my first year. And I'm really, really excited, getting into both residential and commercial. And, a buddy of mine just sent me a text. He's got a friend who has a $50 million budget, and he's looking for a home in Newport Beach.
Hello.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, I can do that.
Hello. Todd, this has been absolutely terrific, man. I just want to thank Todd for just being this amazing leader. And I can't wait to get you on the Zorich Podcast. I know you're on before, but love hanging out with you because not only the fact that we were literally came in the same year, we're captains together, but it's just that special bond that you feel with a guy who I never knew you until I was 18 years old, and literally have known you more than half my life, and feel like you're my brother.
You know that, man. Love you, man. Thank you so much for having me on, and I'm always willing to come on air for you. You know that, Chris.
Of course. I also like to thank Reggie Brooks and the Holtz's Heroes Foundation for having the idea to celebrate our Black student athletes at Notre Dame who were there during the Holtz's era. We look forward to bringing you more players, but again, we want to thank Todd Lyght for being the legend that he is. Todd, thank you very much.
Hey, Chris, thank you so much, and go Irish.
All right, brother, go Irish.